To first yield to the gentlelady from Missouri. Thank you so much for your willingness to speak on this issue.
I thank the gentlelady from Alabama for yielding, and my good friend Martha Roby, who's been such a leader on this issue. It has been my great privilege, Martha, to be a sponsor of the Working Families Flexibility Act in the 113th Congress, in the 114th Congress, and now again in the 115th Congress. Mr. Speaker, I do rise in support of the Working Families Flexibility Act of 2017, which will remove a federal restriction on private sector employees who would like the option of comp time compensation in lieu of cash for their overtime work, the same as public sector employees. We're talking about, Mr. Speaker, a voluntary choice, a choice made by employees for cash overtime or for comp time. The last thing our federal government should be doing is dictating how our small business employees and entrepreneur compensation operates. In November, Missourians and many Americans spoke loud and clear, Mr. Speaker. It is time to get government out of the pocketbooks and off of the backs of hardworking Americans. Americans are also desperate for job flexibility. I know I was also, Martha, as a working mom when I worked at Ralston Purina in St. Louis, Missouri. They want to have a better balance of obligations of their day-to-day jobs while taking care of family and family matters. And the Working Families Flexibility Act will help us do just that. For the past 30 years, public sector employees have enjoyed the benefit of choosing voluntary paid time off or comp time instead of cash wages as compensation for working overtime hours. Private sector workers who make up an incredibly large portion of our economy should also reap this benefit. It's simply common sense. Amending this overtime restriction through this legislation will help bring our workforce standards into the 21st century and allow our workers to do their jobs while still providing them with the voluntary flexibility to raise a family, pursue a college degree, care for aging parents, or tend to the day-to-day obligations that come their way. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support the Working Families Flexibility Act as it safeguards workers' time and wages, protects their use of the comp time they've earned, and most importantly, as we work each day to get our economy back on track, this legislation empowers them, the American worker, with more options and flexibility that will ultimately lead to a better quality of life. I thank the gentlelady for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I yield back the remainder of my time.
I thank the gentlelady, and I appreciate your willingness to speak on behalf of the Working Family Flexibility Act, and in doing so, you're speaking on behalf of so many hardworking American families. So thank you for taking the time to speak on this.
It's my pleasure, Martha, and I must say, since we do have time, that you're being a champion of this in the last 3 Congresses that I've had the pleasure of working, and my constituents in Missouri's 2nd District have sent me. It's wonderful to see a working mom like you who is juggling all of those day-to-day needs to stand up for private sector workers who deserve the same kinds of options and flexibility that our public service has enjoyed for some 30 years. So I thank you for being a champion in this way. She's a wonderful legislator and a wonderful mother, too.
Thank you so much.